Hello everyone. Let us compute and practice using the comprehensive example in the book. So in the book, we have a trial balance. There. So we have here a trial balance and it has different accounts. Volfango Manufacturing Company, trial balance, December 31, 2014. We have cash, marketable securities, and etc. So we have a whole trial balance here, and I just placed it in my Excel sheet. So you may use this Excel sheet after I upload it, and you can use this for your future reference for ease of computation. But again, as what I've said, practice doing manually. Okay? Okay. So, nilipat ko na yan dito sa Excel ko. So, we have here a pre-formatted worksheet. Kaya lang, pag kasi sa manufacturing, may nadagdag na cost of goods manufactured. Kasi dito natin ilalagay yung mga i-close nating accounts in order for us to get the cost of goods manufactured. Okay? But the pre-formatted worksheet is first two columns, unadjusted trial balance. Next, adjustments, debit, credit. And then adjusted trial balance, debit, credit. And then income statement, debit, credit. And balance sheet, debit, credit. Okay. Now, let's go back. Let's see ano ba yung mga adjustments natin. Ito yung mga adjusting information for December 31, 2014. So, I made sure that the total of the trial balance pala is balance. Diba? 165, 7, 260, 165, 7, 260. And I have here 165, 7, 260, 167. And 657, 260. Okay, what are the adjusting information? The adjusting information are, number 1, depreciation for the year are building, machinery, equipment, 5%, 10%, and 10%. So again, how are we going to prepare adjusting entry for depreciation? Debit, depreciation expense. Building, credit, accumulated depreciation. Okay. Pag ganyan ang ginawa, excuse lang class ah. Okay. 5% daw ng cost. Pag nakakita kayo ng ganito class, sa cost nyo yan i-multiply, hindi sa carrying value. Nakachain ako. So, this is 5%. Lagyan natin dito para hindi natin malimutan. Mamaya natin compute. Gayahin natin tong entry na to. Ano pa yung depreciation, machinery, and office equipment. So, edit ko lang dito. Gawin ko machinery. That is 10%. Machinery. And then, office equipment. %. Tama ba? At 10% lang pala. And then, yan. So, ito na yung entries ko. Pero wala pang amount. Now, let's go back to the cost. Magkano bang cost nila? Building is, punta na nga lang ako sa worksheet ko. Building. Okay. Okay, so I have 360,000 pesos for building, machinery 121,400, office equipment 35,000. Gagawin ko, i-refer ko na lang doon. So 5% times, punta ako sa building ko, 360 para hindi ako magkamali ng amount. Yan. So the depreciation expense for the building is 18,000. Remember, class, itong building na ito, that is used in the daily operations of the company because that is the office premises. So, if we're going to classify this as an expense, this is not a factory overhead. Why po? Because you don't use your building in production, directly in production, no. That is used generally. Even if you're a production building or not, you're using the building. So, what is the classification of this expense? This is more appropriate to be classified as a general and administrative expense. Okay? And depreciation expense for the building, that is a general and administrative expense. How about the machinery? Of course, machinery. From the word itself, that is being used in the production. So if there is a depreciation expense for the machinery, then presumably, of course, presumably, there is only a presumption. If there's a clear evidence or clear proof that it is not used in the production, then this should not be factory overhead. But since it is machinery, by the word itself, by the term itself, it is clear that this is used in the production. So this might be part of the factory overhead. Magkano ba yung cost? 10% daw ng machinery. So, 12,140 dahil 121,400 yun. And then, how about, okay, office equipment. The same is true with the building. This is a general administrative expense. Why? Because office equipment is being used in the office, in the daily operations, whether there is a production or there is no production. Yeah, general and administrative expense. 10% times how much? 35,000 pesos. Okay, so we have now 35. Depreciation expense building debit 18,000. Accumulated depreciation 18,000. And then machinery 12,140. And equipment, office equipment 3,500. Now let's check the book if it's the same. Nasaan na yung adjusting entries niya? Yun. Okay. So depreciation expense building 18,000, correct? 12,140 and then 3,500. So tama naman yung adjusting entries natin. Okay, what else? Ano pa yung mga adjusting entries daw? Sabi? Ang gulo na. Sorry ha. Okay. Unpaid wages. Mamaya na nga lang natin i-check para sabay-sabay. Unpaid wages in the factory are indirect labor 6,800. Direct labor 6,800. Indirect labor 3,600. Ito yung sinasabi ko na what if the company is using direct labor and indirect labor account instead of ano nga entry kapag mag-recognize ka direct labor, di ba dapat debit, work in process, credit, cash or accounts payable, and then pag indirect labor naman, debit, factory overhead, credit, cash or accounts payable. Diba? Yun dapat. Pero dito, class, pag pinansin nyo, hindi sila gumagamit. Gumagamit sila ng account na direct labor and indirect labor. Paano ba natin malalaman? Anon. Nandito sa trial balance. Ibig sabihin, yan ang ginagamit na account. Hindi diretso kay work in process at kay factory overhead. So, we have to be consistent. What will be our entry now? Remember our entry last time? Debit. Debit mo sa direct labor. Compound entry na lang gawin natin, class, ano? Debit direct labor, that is 6,800. Itong plus may kama dito. Shortcut yan para makita yung thousand separate. Yung decimal places. Okay, and then next, indirect labor. 3,600. Okay. And then next, wages payable or salaries payable. Ano mang pwede? Meron ba siyang payable account? Wala. So, lagyan na lang natin. Wages or sales salaries lang kasi meron dito eh. Wages or salaries payable. Kasi, accrued expense ito. Why? Because, hindi pa daw nababayaran. Diba sabi, unpaid direct labor or indirect labor. Ay, bakit nasa credit? Debit po pala ito. Yan. Both are expense accounts. Because these are costs of production. Expense accounts, yan. And that would be close to the cost of goods manufactured later. Okay? Next. Ano pa Bad debts are estimated at 1/2 of 1% of net sales. 1/2 of 1% of net sales. Ano ba ang net sales natin? Again, what is net sales? 1/2 of 1% of net sales. Punta tayo dito muna. Worksheet. Puntahan niyo yung sales accounts. Ano yung net sales? Sales less sales returns and allowances and less sales discount. Okay? Pakopyahin ko lang siya. Dadalhin ko dito sa adjusting entries. Lalagyan ko muna ng number 3. Lagay ko dito sa baba. Yan. Lipat ko dito. Okay. So, this is our sales accounts. Sales, 844,000. Sales returns and allowances, 12,000. Sales discount, 8,800. Now, how do you get your net sales? Your net sales is sales less returns and allowances. Sales returns and allowances and less sales discount. Okay. Yan. Magkano ngayon ang net sales natin? Ay, bakit mali? 844 less sum ng dalawa. Yan. 820,000 to 823,200. Pwede din 844 less 12 less 8,800. Diba? Kaya lang naman. Okay. Ngayon, ano na yung adjusting entry natin? Bad debts are estimated at 1/2 of 1%. Okay. Then, anong entry for bad debts? Debit, bad debts, expense. Credit, allowance for bad debts. 1/2, lagyan natin dito. 1/2 of 1% of 823,200. Para hindi nyo malimutan. So, 1/2 times 1% times 823,200. Yan. So, sa calculate nyo, magkano ba ang 1/2 ng 1%? That is 0.005. Kasi ang 1%, I'm sorry, 0.00005. Okay? Kasi ano bang 1/2? 1/2 times 1%. Mag-calculator pa rin kayo. Ano? 1/2 of 1%. Bakit ganun? 1/2 0.5 times 1%. Ha? Niloloko ako nito. Bakit 0.001? Yun. 0.005 pala. Ayan. 0.005. Okay? Ano, baka mamaya mali pa na to. Bakit ba 0.01 pa? Yun. Araw naman pala. Okay. Okay. So, yan na. Meron na tayong budgets, expense. Ano pa? Factory supplies on hand. Ayan, sinasabi natin. Pag nakabasa kayo ng factory supplies on hand, ibig sabihin, class, they do not lump the indirect materials with the raw materials inventory. They are separating the indirect materials in recording it in their books. They use factory supplies on hand. These are the indirect materials. So, since what is our factory supplies on hand at the beginning? Our beginning balance is factory supplies on hand inventory 8,300. Ito, beginning. And then, ano yung factory supplies end? Factory supplies inventory end. Magkano na lang? 1,400. Magkano nabawas? Anong nangyari sa nabawas? Nagamit. Anong tawag mo doon? Factory supplies expense. Beginning less end. Paano pag may purchases? Di isama mo. Diba? Pero class, kasi dito, sa book, yung purchases niya, hindi niya pinaghiwalay. Isa lang yung purchases. So, we can assume that this is for the raw materials. Hindi niya in-specify that this is for the factory supplies expense or this is for the indirect materials. In the book, kung pinaghiwalay niya si direct materials at saka si indirect materials, pero sa purchases, hindi niya in-specify kung kaninong purchases to, kung direct materials ba to or indirect materials, then you presume that this is for the direct materials. Okay? Pero dapat sa totoong buhay, wala namang assumption. Sa problems lang kasi, there are things that were not said. But in practice, of course, in the company, you know very well which are the purchases for direct materials and which are the purchases for the indirect materials. Okay, so then, factory supplies expense, what is your entry? Debit, factory supplies expense. You have to recognize the amount used. Then credit, factory supplies inventory. Okay. Yan. Okay. Anong tawag nito sa factory supplies expense na ito? This is actually a factory overhead expense. Okay? Factory overhead expense. Because this is an expense for the indirect materials. These are the indirect materials used. Okay? Next. Inventories on December 31, 2014 are, so these are the ending inventories. O, ano naman ang pakinabang natin dito sa ending inventories na to? This will be used class. There will be no adjusting entries here. Magagamit natin ito class pag i-close na natin yung mga accounts na ito kay cost of goods manufactured. Hindi mo na tayo gagawin ng adjusting entry. Mamaya na, pagkatapos natin makuha yung adjusted balances. Yung cost of goods manufactured kasi class, usually ginagawa yan pag closing. Pero, kapag kagaya ng dito, sa book, hindi nila dinediretso sa work in process, sa factory of, sa finished goods, yung every stage of change in manufacturing inventory, then we have to prepare the cost of goods manufactured statement. Mamaya natin siya magagamit. Okay? Pero sige, dahil para dire-diretso tayo, gawin na lang din pala natin ngayon. Remember class, ang sabi dito sa book, they use the direct extension method. So, in computing for the cost of goods manufactured, hindi mo na natin gagamitin si finished goods. Ano yung materials inventory account na magagamit natin in determining the cost of goods manufactured? Dalawa lang yun. The work in process and the raw materials. Okay? Work in process and raw materials. Unless mag-work back tayo, we can use the finished goods. Tingnan natin ulit yung dati nating ginawa na mga formula. Ayan, di ba? In computing for the cost of goods manufactured, ano lang yung makikita nyo dito? Raw materials and work in process. Cost of goods manufactured, raw materials used plus direct labor plus factory overhead is equal to total manufacturing cost. Total manufacturing cost plus work in process beginning is equal to total goods placed in production. Less work in process and cost of goods manufactured. Pero pag gusto niyo mag-work back, of course, we can use also finished goods. Baka kasi lumabas sa exam niyo yan, yung work back method. Finished goods lang binigay at saka yung cost of goods sold. Tapos ang tinatanong cost of goods manufactured, di ba, naalala nyo kung paano mag-work back? Just use this formula. Okay? Finished goods beginning plus cost of goods manufactured is equal to cost of goods available for sale. Less finished goods and that is cost of goods sold. Kamukha ito class ng merchandise inventory. Ha? Kung di ba sa merchandise inventory, sa merchandising business, merchandise inventory beginning plus purchases or net purchases is equal to cost of goods available for sale less merchandise inventory and cost of goods sold. Okay, now let's go back to our problem. Inventories on hand on December 31, 2014 are this one. Anong gagawin kaya natin? Sige, extend na natin si finished goods para mabilis. Ano daw sabi niya? Para hindi na natin siya malimutan mamaya. Finished goods at the end daw ay 76,500. Pag direct extension method class, si finished goods yung in-extend mo directly. Okay? Parang dun sa raw materials inventory. In-extend mo directly si merchandise inventory pala. Sorry. Parang dun sa merchandising business, ang dinedirects extend mo si merchandise inventory. Here, si finished goods inventory. So what are we going to do? We extend directly the beginning balance in the debit side of the income statement. Okay? So, we have extended directly. How about the ending balance? You place it in the credit side. Magkano ang ending balance? 76,500. Yan. Red ko para malaman nyo na ito yung dinirect extend natin. And, pag nag-direct extend ka class, yung credit side, yung ending balance ni finished goods inventory, yan yung beginning balance mo. Yan yung balance mo, ending balance mo sa balance sheet. Okay? Bakit? Kasi tinatanggal na natin siya sa income statement. tatanggalin natin sa income statement si finished goods inventory beginning, and we set up the ending balance of finished goods. Diba, nung pag-closing entry, we set up the ending balance of finished goods. So, credit. And then, check nga natin kung tama ba yung ginagawa ko. Okay, so ganun nga. Diba? Finished goods inventory, debit, and then finished goods inventory and credit. And then, i-debit mo yung finished goods inventory. So, pag direct extend kay class, tatlo lagi yan. Beginning balance, debit, ending balance, credit sa income statement. And then, the ending balance will be on the debit side of the balance sheet. Okay. Ginawa ko na lang black. Paano yung dalawa? Yung raw materials and C goods in process end. Gagawa na lang tayo ng adjusting entry for cost of goods manufactured. Naalala niyo ba yung ginawa natin ng isang araw? Lagay tayo dito number 5. For cost of goods manufactured. The entry. Ayun. So, gamitin natin ito. This is just a pro forma entry class. Hindi ito pare-pareho sa lahat ng company. But this can serve as your guide, especially sa mga quizzes and exams. Okay, lipat ko na siya dito, ha? Okay. This is a compound entry. Mas maganda kasi class compound entry para isahan na lang. Hindi nyo malimutan. Pag nag-compound entry kayo for cost of goods manufactured, you debit cost of goods manufactured. For sure, debit ang maiiwan. Bakit? Cost mo yan for production. It is seldom credit. Because the normal balance of cost of goods manufactured is debit side, because that is an expense, that is a cost. Pag credit side cost of goods manufactured, yung ending na yung net effect niya kung credit side, there is a problem. Kaya idiretso mo na debit cost of goods manufactured. And ano pag ginagawa natin? We remove the the contra purchases accounts. Purchase discounts, debit. Purchase returns and allowances, debit. And then, we set up the raw materials and the work in process end. Yan lang naman kailangan yung tandaan eh. Cost of goods manufactured, and then, contra purchases account. For purposes of ano lang to ha, of setting up a cost of goods manufactured. Okay, so remove contra purchases account and set up the raw materials inventory and work in process inventory end. Then, on the debit side, you remove the raw materials inventory beginning and work in process inventory beginning. And, of course, you remove the purchases accounts and the factory overhead accounts and the direct labor. Okay? Bakit? Ano ba ulit ang components ng cost of goods manufactured? Yung raw materials used, sa raw materials used, of course, ano yung mga related accounts dyan? Purchases accounts. Diba? Raw materials used, purchases accounts, and the raw materials ending and beginning inventory. Ano pa? Yung direct labor. Naalala nyo, yung mga total manufacturing cost, yun lang naman kasi ang laman ng entry eh. Itong formula na to. Yan. Yan lang naman ang laman ng entry ng cost of goods manufactured. Para pag nalilito kayo, tandaan nyo lang, ano nga ulit ang formula to get the cost of goods manufactured? Ito lang yan. Raw materials used, direct labor, factory overhead, work in process beginning, work in process end. Kaya, kung ano yung mga accounts na nandito, yun yung tatanggalin natin, i-debit and i-credit natin sa cost of goods manufactured entry. O, pag nakita mo dito, raw materials beginning, and then net purchases, these are the purchases, freight in, and then the purchase discounts, purchase returns, and then raw materials end. And then, ano pa? Factory overhead. Ano yung mga factory overhead? Yung indirect labor, yung indirect materials, factory supplies expense, and other overhead accounts such as yung mga other expenses related in producing the goods and direct labor. And work in process beginning and work in process end. Kaya, pag tinignan mo yung entry natin sila din yan. Okay? O, ayan din sila. Tatanggalin mo lang sila from their original entry, and we set up cost of goods manufactured and the ending balances of raw materials inventory and work in process inventory. So you just have to familiarize yourselves with this. Okay? Now, let's go to the amounts. Yung cost of goods manufactured, mamaya natin lagyan ng amount yan. Kasi yan yung net balance of all the debit and the credit. Purchase discounts. Meron ba tayo dito purchase discount? Magkano? Purchase discount. 8,700. Purchase returns and allowances. 6,500. Raw materials inventory and ano nakalagay sa book? 48,600. And then work in process and nakalagay goods in process and yung goods in process and work in process same lang yan. 46,200. And then raw materials beginning inventory. Go back to the worksheet. Raw materials inventory beginning 52,800. And the work in process inventory beginning goods in process 38,600. And then purchases, how much is the purchases? 266,800. Freight in 12,000. Direct labor and then factory supplies expense. Bakit natin factory supplies expense? Kasi indirect material. Up, wala pa dyan. Diba yung factory supplies expense natin ay 6,900. Direct labor. Magkano direct labor natin? 115,300. Indirect labor. Parang kulang ito. Dapat kasi sa adjusted balances tayo titingin Pero, inuna natin to. Dito ko na lang i-adjust class. Palitan na lang natin mamaya. Magkano yung direct labor natin? 115,300 plus. Naalala nyo, may adjustment tayo kanina. So, wag nyo lang kakalimutan kung may mga adjustment, ha. 6,800. And then, indirect labor. Worksheet. Plus, may adjusting entry tayo. 3,600. And then, ano yung mga expenses? Ito yung mga expenses for factory. Yan. Ito lang. Heat, light, and power, factory insurance expense, repairs and maintenance, and miscellaneous factory expenses. Nalagyan natin doon. Heat, light, and then depreciation for machinery. Don't forget, meron tayo adjusting entry kanina. And then factory insurance expense. Repairs and maintenance and miscellaneous factory expense. Pero class, pag gumagawa kayo ng worksheet, sa huli nyo to gawin. Okay, ginawa ko lang ngayon kasi para makita nyo. Sa huli ninyo ito gagawin. Bakit? Para ang makuha nyong amount ay yung mga adjusted balances dito. Dito kayo titingin sa adjusted trial balance. Ha? Mas accurate yun. Ginagawa lang natin ngayon kasi para makita nyo agad. Pero mamaya uulitin natin yan. Okay? Para yung mga amounts na ilalagay nyo dito, hindi nyo kukunin doon sa unadjusted balance. Kukunin nyo siya sa adjusted balances. So mali itong ginagawa natin actually. Dapat sa adjusted balance tayo kukuha. Kasi baka may mga adjustments na hindi natin napapansin. Kagaya nito. Doon sa worksheet, wala si depreciation expense for machinery. Nasaan siya? Nandito sa adjusting entry. Ayan. So, yun yung magiging possible na error. Mamaya, ulitin na lang natin. Factory expense, repairs and maintenance, and then miscellaneous factory expense. Binabagalan ko para makita nyo. Okay. Okay, now meron na tayong debit balances, meron din tayong meron tayong debit balance, meron din tayong credit balances. In cost of goods manufactured, that is the difference between the debit balance and the credit balances. Okay? The difference between the credit balance and the debit balance pala. Pag mas malaki si credit balance kaysa sa debit balance, then may debit balance si cost of goods manufactured. So, mauna tayo dito sa credit balance. Sum of the credit balances less sum of the debit balances. How much is the cost of goods manufactured? 542,040. Check nga natin kung tama. Cost of goods manufactured 542,040. Okay, so pareho naman. 542,040. Okay. So ito yung entry for cost of goods manufactured. Pero sige, balikan natin ito mamaya ulit, ha? Tapos papalitan natin yung mga amounts dito ng reference, yung reference point lang. Doon tayo sa adjusted balances. Okay, so now we're going to prepare adjusted balance of our worksheet. So, balikan natin yung worksheet natin. Italicize ko lang ito. Okay. Worksheet. Adjustments. May adjustment ba tayo for cash? Wala. Diba? Wala. Ano lang yung adjustments natin? Accumulated depreciation, building. So, dito natin lalagay yung adjusting entries. So, debit, depreciation, expense, di ba? Building, credit accumulated, depreciation. Magkano yung depreciation expense? Debit. Punta natin ito. 18,000. And then, go to accumulated depreciation. Lakihan ko para mas makita nyo. Ay. Ay. Yan. Depreciation expense, and then credit accumulated depreciation building. Lagyan nyo ng reference para hindi malimutan. Yan. And then next, depreciation expense machinery. Kopyahin ko na lang to, ha. Lagyan ko lang ng machinery. Okay. Okay. Yan. And then, accumulated depreciation machinery. Tama ba yan? Sige, okay na yan. Letter B. Kung natin ito A. A. Itong B. C. C. D. E. G. Okay. Magkano accumulated depreciation expense machinery? Yan. 12,140. Next. Adjusting entries. Letter C is depreciation expense. Ano yung depreciation expense natin na isa? Office equipment. Yan. That is 3,500. Then let's go to accumulated depreciation expense. Office equipment. Then direct labor. Diba meron na tayong account na direct labor. So this is letter D. Tama ba letter D ba yun? Hindi ko na matandaan. Yan, letter D nga. Debit. 6,800. Indirect labor. 3,600. And then, meron ba tayo dito salaries payable? Wala. Sales salaries lang meron. Meron ba dito? Wala. Accounts payable lang. Pero, pwede naman accounts payable. Pero, mas maganda yung wages. Or, salaries payable. Factory, salaries payable. Mas maganda nga pa, mas specific. Tignan natin kung anong ginamit dito. Ayan, salaries and wages payable. Okay. Letter D. Magkano yung total nun? 10,400. Dapat credit pala. Yan, credit. Next, adjusting entry, bad debts expense. Meron na ba tayong bad debts expense? Wala. Ang bad debts expense class ay, ano to? Administrative expense. General and administrative expense. Why? Because this is expenses related to collection. Kahit meron kang production o wala, meron ka nitong expense na to. Kaya general and administrative. Of course, this is not selling expense because you do not incur this upon selling. You incur this upon what? Upon ay, parang mali yung ginawa natin kanina. Meron na ba tayong allowance for bad debts? Anong sabi doon pala sa... okay. Buti na lang. Bad debts. Ay, naku, parang mali. Bad debts are estimated at 1/2% of 1% of net sales. Meron ba tayong allowance? Naku, may allowance pala tayo. I'm sorry. 4116 ba? Bakit 4116? Okay. Bad debts are estimated. So, siguro, ang sinabi dito ay bad debts expense are estimated at 1/2 of 1% of net sales. Okay. Okay. Sa wording kasi nga, bad debts are okay. So we have assumed that this is the bad debts expense. The bad debts are estimated at 1/2 of 1% of net sales. Pero pag ang nakalagay dito class, the allowance for bad debts ending is equal to 1/2 of 1% of net sales. Then we have to consider the beginning balance of allowance for bad debts. Kagaya nung adjusting entry for allowance. Dito kasi sinabi, bad debts are estimated at 1/2 of 1% of net sales. So, pag may ganyan sa book, ipaglaban nyo, I mean sa exams and sa quizzes, tapos mali yung sagot sa quiz, or iba yung sagot sa quiz, and then, paglaban nyo na, ma'am or sir, nakalagay po sa book, ganito yung ginawa. Para meron kayong basis, at pwedeng maging tama yung sagot ninyo. Okay, so since tama naman pala yung ginawa natin, bad debts expense, and then, allowance for bad debts, madadagdagan yung allowance for bad debts. E, credit, 4116. Okay, what else? Meron pa ba? Factory supplies expense. Factory supplies expense. Letter F. Okay. Debit kasi yan ay expense. 69. And then, factory supplies inventory. Credit. $6,900. Kasi ang ending balance daw ay 1,000. 1,000 plus. Hindi ko na maalala. Magkano ba yung ending balance? 1,400. Okay. So, we're done with the adjusting entries. Ano na lang natira? For cost of goods manufactured. Ayan. So, before that, let's compute for the adjusted balances. Okay? Wala na pala dito eh. So, delete na natin tong line na ito. Ayan. Ang total ng adjustments natin ay 55,005.6. So, gawin natin yung adjusted trial balance. For cash, wala, di ba? Debit ng cash plus debit ng adjustments less credit adjustment. Wala. So, kopya natin itong formula na to hanggang dito. Sa baba. Para madali. Ayan. And then, credit naman. Kopyahin ka na lang sa lahat ha. Kahit wala naman talaga siyang credit side. Plus, credit, less, ulit. So, applicable lang to. Ulit. Applicable lang yan sa mga asset accounts. Ano ba yung may normal balance na debit? Asset. Yan. Asset. Wag dito sa allowance for bad debts. Ano pa? So, yung formula na machinery. Yung formula na yun, debit plus debit less credit. Ilalagay ko sa lahat ng may debit balance. Normal debit balance yung mga asset. And then drawing. Ano pa? Contra sales account, sales returns, sales discounts. Ito. And then purchase discount, purchases lang pala. And then freight in, direct labor. So, ang ginagawa ko, nilalagay ko lang yung formula na debit plus credit dun sa mga normal debit balances. So, ang mga normal debit balances, assets, contra sales account, and then expenses. Okay. Ano pa? Expenses natin dito sa baba. And factory supplies. Yun. Okay? Tingnan nga natin. Hindi na siya gumawa ng adjusted balance. Tayo gagawa tayo kasi masipag tayo. Then for credit accounts, normal credit balance is credit plus credit less debit side. Okay? Again, credit plus another credit less debit side. Kasi normal balance ay credit. Saan natin lalagay yan? Contra asset accounts such as allowance for bad debts, accumulated depreciation, and accounts payable, liabilities, capital, sales, and other income. Meron pa ba? Wala na. Tapos, contra purchases accounts. Purchase discount. Yan. So, wala naman na yata. Okay? Ito pa. Liability. Okay. Ayan. So, yan na yung adjusted trial balance. So, napansin nyo, balance naman si adjusted trial balance natin. From 1657 to 60, nagkaroon tayo ng adjustments. And we have here the adjusted trial balance. Now, remember, para makuha mo yung foot balance or yung sum, total sum ng adjusted trial balance, hindi mo pwedeng i-add si unadjusted at saka si adjustments. Kasi, kagaya nung nakaraan, di ba? Baka naman meron si asset, meron siyang debit and credit side. So, pag pinag-add mo yung debit, pinag-add mo yung unadjusted trial balance na debit dito, tas unadjusted trial balance credit, i-add mo din dito, mag-overstate yung adjusted trial balance mo. Kailangan naka-net pag adjusted trial balance. I-net mo yung effect ng adjustments. Tsaka mo i-foot. Okay? Pag sinabi yung foot, i-total mo mula taas hanggang pababa. And then, we have to effect now our cost of goods manufactured entry. To determine how much is our cost of goods manufactured. So, lagyan natin dito muna yung tanggalin natin si net income. Lagyan natin cost of goods manufactured. So, hindi mo naman ito pansinin, ha? Yung maangas dyan. Okay, now, let's go to cost of goods manufactured. Dito tayo tingin sa adjusted trial balance. Ano yung mga entry? Magkano yung cost of goods manufactured? 542,040. Pero mamaya ko yan ilalagay. Tingnan natin yung net effect. Okay? Punta tayo sa purchase discounts. Debit purchase discounts. So, yung credit balance niya, gagawin kong debit. And then, ano pa? Purchase returns, credit, gagawin kong debit. Okay? Next, ano yung entry natin? Yun namang beginning balances ng raw materials and work in process. So, beginning balance ng raw materials, nakakaduling, no? Gawin, since naka-debit side sila, tatanggalin ko na, gagawin kong credit. Okay? Okay. Now, next, ano naman? Yung mga raw materials inventory beginning. Sorry. Apo. Inuna ko pala yung beginning balances kinredit. And then, set up natin yung ending balance. Magkano yung ending balance? 48,600. Ending balance debit. So, ang lalabas dapat sa worksheet, sa balance sheet, ay yung ending balance mamaya. Goods in process or work in process, 46,200. And then, raw materials inventory, work in process in raw materials inventory, 48,600. So, dinebit ko po yung ending balance ni goods in process or work in process and raw materials. At kinredit ko naman yung beginning balances nila. Then, ano pa? Purchases. So, tanggalin natin yung purchases. Okay? Debit balance siya kanina. Gagawin natin siyang credit balances. Pati yung freight in. Freight in, debit balance, credit balance na. Ibig sabihin, pag debit balance, ano sila? Expense accounts sila. Purchase account kasi freight in. Same with direct labor. Expense account yan kasi cost of manufactured. Cost of goods manufactured. And then, so are we done with direct labor and indirect labor? Yes. Punta naman tayo sa factory supplies expense. Baka malimutan natin. Nasaan siya? Nandoon sa ilalim. Yun. Diba factory supplies expense debit, so we have to credit. And then, what else? Yung mga factory overhead expenses. Heat and light, credit, kasi debit sila. Factory supply, insurance expense, repairs and maintenance, and then miscellaneous factory expense. Ayan. Meron pa ba? Wala na po. So, that is your entry. Ngayon, bakit hindi pantay, ma'am? Bakit mas malaki si credit side kay debit side? Remember, yung net nila, net ng credit side at ng debit side, yan yung cost of goods manufactured ninyo. Kaya wag kang magtataka, ma'am, di balance. Hindi talaga yan magbabalance. Kasi kung ano yung difference nilang dalawa, yun yung cost of goods manufactured. If the credit to the cost of goods manufactured side is greater, then we have a total cost of goods manufactured. So, kung yung credit side nung entry natin ay mas malaki, yung net niya sa debit side, then yung cost of goods manufactured. Okay? Bakit hindi balance? 529,900. Ito, 542,040. Tignan nga natin. Purchase discounts, 870. 65, 48,600. Ano yung mga debit side ni? Kakaduling naman. Ano yung debit side ni? 46,200. At saka 48,600. Okay? So, okay tayo sa debit side, diba? 4 lang yun. Ang credit side naman, 52,800 for raw materials beginning. Tingnan nga natin. Okay. 38,600. And then purchases, 266,800. Freight in, 12,000. Siguro hindi nasama ito. Tingnan natin. Nasama naman. Bakit mali? 110,000. Ito, 652,040 dapat. Tingnan natin ano yung mali. Freight in is 12,000. Tama naman, 12,000. Factory supplies expense, 6,900. Tama naman. Direct labor, 122,100. Tama naman. Indirect labor, 45,600. Tama naman. Heat and light, 38,000. Then factory insurance expense. Ayun, hindi natin nasama si depreciation expense, machinery. Nalimutan natin si depreciation expense, machinery. Ay, wag dyan. Dito tayo sa adjusted balance. Yun. Okay? So, wag kakalimutan yung mga adjustments. Diba? Kasi nalimutan natin si depreciation expense, machinery. Kasama yan sa cost of goods manufactured because that is a factory overhead. Okay? So, magkano ngayon ang cost of goods manufactured? 542,040. Okay? Meron tayong cost of goods manufactured. I-extend natin ngayon yan sa saan? Sa income statement. Extend natin siya. Okay? So, sa income statement class, dahil gumawa lang tayo ng cost of goods manufactured, hindi na mag-a-appear dun sa income statement yung mga balances na kinlose natin dito sa cost of goods manufactured. Okay? Wala na sila. Except, kung meron silang, tama. Hindi na sila mag-a-appear. Okay? Matatanggal na sila. Because we have already closed these accounts to the cost of goods manufactured. So, ano yung mga maiiwan? Yung mga hindi natin na-close. Punta tayo sa sales. Yan. Sales, credit side. Diba? Adjusted trial balance, 844. And then sales returns and allowances. Then sales discounts. Then, bakit red? Then purchases, tanggal na yan. Purchase discount, tanggal na din. Purchase returns and allowances, tanggal na. Same with freight in, direct labor, indirect labor, heat and light. Yung mga factory overhead natin, wala na. Anong matitira? Yung general administrative expenses and selling expenses. Sales salaries. And then advertising expense. Miscellaneous expense. Office salaries. Taxes and licenses. Miscellaneous general administrative expenses. Depreciation expense building. Depreciation expense equipment. Wag na yung machinery kasi kinlose na natin yan. And then, bad debts expense. Wala na rin si factory supplies. So, ang debit side ni income statement ay 305,216. But, including cost of goods sold, we have 847,256. Credit side naman ay 919,600. So, magkano ngayon ang net income? Ang credit side daw ay 919,600. Pero ang debit side ulit. Ang credit side ay 919,600. Ang debit side ay total na 305,216 plus the cost of goods manufactured na 542,040. So, how much is the net income? The net income is the difference between the credit side and the sum of the debit side. Bakit? Kaya, magkano daw ang net income natin? Ang net income ay 72,344. Tignan nga natin kung tama. Ayun. The net income for the year is 72,344. Remember, class, ha? The total debit side is 305. O sige, lagyan na lang natin dito ng total pala. Huwag na lang tayo dito mag-total. Pero maganda din dyan, naka-total, di ba? Or dito kaya sa baba. Okay. Tanggalin na lang natin to. Para hindi nakakalito. Okay. So, tinanggal ko muna sila. Dito tayo sa baba mag-total. Kasi nakakalito ka naman, mami. O, sige. Nalilito din ako. Ayan. O, gawa tayong total dito. Dito na lang. Total ulit. Namin mag-total. Dito lang tayo mag-start. Ayan. Anyway, magagamit nyo naman itong Excel na to. I'll give it free to you. So, total natin yung buong debit side. Ayan natin itong 8. 7 pala. Ayan. So, ito na. Para hindi nakakalito. Total ng credit side ng income statement ay 919,600. And total ng debit side ng income statement plus the cost of goods manufactured is 847,256. So, in-extend natin class yung cost of goods manufactured mo, pagka kinlose mo na yan dito, i-extend mo yan directly kay income statement. Okay? Kaya, ngayon, mas malaki si credit side kaysa kay debit side ng income statement. Ibig sabihin, meron tayong income. Diba? Kaya, magkano ang net income natin? The net income would be the credit side less the total debit side. And that is 72,344. And then, yun. So, nag-balance naman ulit sila. So, this is your net income. Lagyan na lang natin ng kulay para matatandaan na. Then, cost of goods manufactured. Yan. Okay. So, that would be your income statement. No? Yung cost of goods manufactured, na-compute natin, plus all the debit balances, yung mga expenses na hindi na-close, and the credit balances for the sales. And then, of course, yung mga in-extend natin, direct extension, finished goods inventory. Don't forget that. Okay? Pag manufacturing company, pag direct extension method, ang in-extend mo directly ay finished goods inventory. Okay, now let's go to the balance sheet. So, balance sheet, kopyahan natin yung adjusted balances. Cash, then marketable securities, and then accounts receivable. Mali pa spelling na accounts receivable. And then, allowance for bad debts, credit. Diba? Dahil, kontra, asset account, finished goods inventory, the ending inventory. And then, meron ka pa bang work in process inventory? Meron pa po. Ending. Okay? Work in process inventory, ending balance. Ano ba ending balance natin? Yun. 46,200. Then, raw materials inventory, 48,600. Factory supplies inventory, magkano na? 1,400. Land, 142,000. Building, 360. Accumulated depreciation, 104. Machinery, 121,400. Office equipment, 35,000. And then, accumulated depreciation machinery. And then, accumulated depreciation equipment. And accounts payable. And then, capital. And then, drawing. Sales returns and allowances, sales discount, purchases, tanggal na, purchase discount, tanggal na, freight in, wala na yung mga yan. Bakit? Mamaya, ang ilalagay natin yung cost of goods manufactured. At saka, girl, tayo ay nasa balance sheet. Kaya wala na talaga itong mga to, sorry. Okay? So, balance sheet, hindi nakasama ang income statement account. So, makikita nyo naman dyan kung saan nag-start. Usually, pag may balance na dito sa income statement, nag-start na si sales. So, you stop from there. Okay? Okay. So, again, balance sheet lang. Ha? Wag na si sales. Dahil, yung mga yan ay income statement account. So, meron pa kaya dito? Wala na. Hanggang baba, expenses. Dito kaya, meron? Wala na din. Puro pala ito, expense accounts. Meron. Accounts payable. Don't forget hanggang sa baba, ha? Yan. So, si accounts payable, kasama pa. Huwag dun silang kalimutan. And then, tingnan natin yung balance. Bakit mas malaki si... So, again, recap lang, ha? Balance sheet class, assets and liabilities and capital lang. Ha? Wag na yung sales. Kagaya nung kanina, mali yun. Hindi na isasama si sales. Pag napansin nyo class sa worksheet nyo na may value na dito, you stop from there. And check, oy, sales na pala. So, stop na ako. This is not already included. But, kung syempre, ang natural tendency kasi, from sales pababa, that is already in income statement account. Saan kayo mag-check ulit dun sa mga adjusting entries? Kasi baka may mga asset and liabilities accounts dito. Okay? Budget expense. Okay. So, we have to tally. Total credit, 846,216. Total debit, 918,560. Pag balance sheet class, hindi magbabalance yan. Bakit? Kasi, mas malaki usually si debit kaysa kay credit. At ano yung idadagdag natin sa credit? Yung total net income. Okay? Net income. And, saka sila magbabalance. Pag net loss tayo, pag net loss tayo, mas malaki si credit side kaysa kay debit side. Pero pag net income tayo, mas malaki si debit side kaysa kay credit side. So, that is now your balance sheet. Let's check if it's tied up with the book. 19. Hindi siya tied up. Bakit? 846,216. 846,216. Tama naman. 73. 244. Mali. 847,256. 919. 600. Bakit kulang to? Ba't 920,500 dito sa book? Allowance for bad debts. 76,500. Ayun, mali ako. Hindi pala ito 75,600. This is 76,500. Yan. 76,500. Ayun, class. So, tandaan nyo, class, ha? Mag-ingat kayo. Huwag nyo akong gagayahin. Nagkamali ako. 75,600 nilagay ko dito. 76,500 pala. Kaya hindi siya tied up. Okay? 76,500. Hindi 75,600. Okay? Ngayon, tie up na ba tayo? 73,244. 920,500. 919,460. 73, 244. 919,460. Ayan. So, tie up na po tayo. Okay? This is your worksheet. Remember, you start from unadjusted balance and then you prepare your adjusting entries. I-separate nyo sila, tsaka nyo sila ipa-plot. Kagaya ng ginawa natin dito. Laging ganun para mas organized. And after plotting, you'll get your adjusted trial balance. And prepare cost of goods manufactured columns para madali sa inyo. To determine how much is the cost of goods manufactured. And ano ba yung mga kasama sa cost of goods manufactured? Yung work in process beginning and end, yung raw materials beginning end, direct labor, indirect materials, factory overhead. Okay? And then, prepare yung income statement. In the income statement, wala na yung mga closed accounts sa cost of goods manufactured. Ano lang natira? Yung mga sales and other expenses, general and administrative expenses, and cost of goods manufactured, of course. And then in the balance sheet, of course, this is only for assets, liabilities, and equity. So, gawa tayo ngayon ng, so this is our worksheet, no? Let's go back and let's prepare our own statement of comprehensive income. Okay? Sige, gawa tayo. Para lang ma-prepare natin. Okay. This is our income statement. Lagay tayo ng heading. Gayahin lang natin sa book. And of course, here, statement of comprehensive income. And then, for the period ended. For the period ended, or for the year ended, for the year ended December 31, 2014. Okay. First in line, sales, revenue. So we have sales discounts, sales returns, and allowances. You'll get your net sales. Top net sales. Yun. Magkano ang net sales natin? Worksheet. How much is the sales? 844. And then how much is the sales discount? 8,800. And then magkano ang adjusting and magkano ang sales returns and allowances? 12,000. Magkano ngayon ang net sales? Dito natin lagay. Less. Ayan. So, dito na lang pala. of cost of goods sold. So, then less cost of goods sold. Tagayin na natin ito revenue dito. Okay. Lagyan natin dito note. Meron siyang sariling note. Okay? Note 1. Note. Paano ulit mag-compute ng cost of goods sold? Balikan na lang natin dito para mas madali. Okay? Okay, balik. Yun. So, dito note 1. Yun. Remember, finished goods beginning plus cost of goods manufactured is equal to cost of goods available for sale. Then less finished goods end, you'll get your cost of goods sold. So how do we get? How much is our finished goods beginning? We have finished goods beginning. Saan dito? Sa taas. Yon. Ito. Diba? 46. Ay, 46,000 plus cost of goods manufactured is, how much is it? We have 542,040. Cost of goods available for sale is 580,040. But the finished goods end is how much? 76,500. Diba? Ay, ba't ang dami? Ang cost of goods manufactured, marami rin. Kakalito naman to. Cost of goods manufactured, ito lang siya. Yan. Finished goods end. Ito. Okay. Now, how much is our cost of goods sold? 588,76,500. Okay, you will get 511,540. Tingnan natin kung tama ba. Pareho ba sa book? Yes, 511,540. Okay. Yan. So, magkano ngayon ang gross profit natin? Gross profit. Ano ulit ang gross profit, class? Gross profit is the net sales less cost of goods sold. Okay. So, i-run down natin ulit ha. Net sales, less sales discount, less sales returns and allowances is equal to your net sales. Diba? Plus or less cost of goods sold, you'll get your gross profit. Cost of goods sold is computed by adding the finished goods beginning to the cost of goods manufactured, and you'll get your cost of goods available for sale. Less your finished goods end, you'll get your cost of goods sold. Okay, so net sales less cost of goods sold is your gross profit. Less, ano yung mga ililess natin? Yung mga expenses. So, what do we have here? Yung operating expenses, distribution expenses, and general and administrative expenses. Okay? Less expenses. We have and selling or distribution expenses and other expenses. Ayan. So we have here operating expenses. Ayan. Okay. Ano yung mga general and administrative expenses natin? Bigyan natin dito ng note. Note 2. Then note 3. Okay. What are our general and administrative expenses? Ayan, dito. Note 2. Pwede din naman class, dire-diretso. Wala namang problema doon. Gawa tayo mamaya ng isa pang income statement. Note 2. What are our general administrative expenses? Let's go to our worksheet. We have atong sales salaries. Ano yan? That is your selling expenses. Advertising, selling expenses. Ito, selling expenses. Ito ngayon yung mga administrative expenses. Office salaries. Okay. Office salaries. Taxes and licenses. Miscellaneous and general admin expense. Ano pa? Depreciation expenses and bad debts expenses. Kopyahin natin ito. Tanggalin natin si depreciation expense for machinery. Wala na yan because that is your factory overhead. Ano pa? Bad debts expense. Ayan. So, class, wala na ngayon yung mga factory overhead natin because nandito na sila sa cost of goods sold. Nasa cost of goods manufactured kasi sila nakapasok. Kaya dito sa income statement natin, hindi na natin sila isasama, pati yung mga purchases. Nandito na sila sa cost of goods sold. Because we've already computed the cost of goods sold using cost of goods manufactured. How much is this? Depreciation expense building. Okay. And then 354. Depreciation expense office equipment. Budgets expense. Ayan. Okay. What else? Wala naman na. Total okay. And then note 3. Your selling and distribution expenses. What is this? Selling and distribution expenses. We have, bakit tayo dito nakatingin? Dito. Yung mga sales salaries, advertising, and miscellaneous selling. Okay? Ayan. Ano pa ba? Wala na. Total na lang natin sila. Total selling or distribution expenses. Okay then. Okay, let's check if you have the same amount. Selling and administrative expenses. So, mali. Sobra. Okay, 127, 700, 110, 716. So, same. The same lang naman tayo. Okay? Okay? And then, i-total natin ito. We'll get our total operating expenses. And then, you'll get our net income. Net income before taxes. Bale, gross profit less total operating expenses. Ayan. Okay? Tingnan natin kung pareho ba. Tama naman. 73,244. Okay. 73,244. That is your net income before taxes or your profit. Okay. So, this is our statement of comprehensive income. Pwede din naman, class, na mahaba. O di, kung gusto nyo ng mahaba, pwede din. Gawa tayo dito sa baba. Dito, diba? So, cost of goods sold, tanggalin natin yung note. Gawin natin. Lagyan natin dito. Si cost of goods sold. Clear contents. Tanggalin natin yung mga border. And then, yan. So, ganito yung magiging itsura, class. Finished tools beginning. Kunin ko lang itong amount dito, ha. Values. And then, yan. So, magiging ganito yung itsura niya, class. Okay? Ganyan siya. So, nandito si net sales, sales, and then sales discount. Magkano ang sales dito? Worksheet. $844. Sales discount ay 12,000. Sales returns and allowances 800. Ay, baliktad. Sales discount 800. Sales returns and allowances 12,000. So that is your net sales, ba? Then you'll get your cost of goods sold. To get, lagay mo dito lahat. So you'll have 511,540. Yan. And then you will get your gross profit. Gross profit is 8 net sales less cost of goods sold. Okay, and then so you now have your gross profit. You lay down now your operating expenses. So general and administrative expenses, tanggalin mo na ngayon yung notes dito. Lalagay natin siya lahat dito sa baba. Okay, you remove the notes. What are your general administrative expenses? Total ay, what is the total? Yan. Okay. Actually dito, sa cost of goods sold, ang practice kasi sa office or sa mga paggawa ng financial statements, hindi na nilalagyan ng separate line item kasi nilagyan na ng cost of goods sold dito. So, para lang medyo consistent siya, ito ko siya ilalagay. Ay, mali. Yan. Okay? And then, remove ko na itong line na to. Para maging ganito siya. Yan. Ganyan. Yan. So again, net sales, then cost of goods sold, this one, and then your gross profit. This one, because net sales less cost of goods sold na 511, you get gross profit. And then your operating expenses, eto sila, total operating expenses, total general and administrative expenses, ito. And then selling expense naman, selling or distribution expenses, lagyan natin siya dito. Tatanggalin natin yung note. Tapos, okay. Ito, so we have 3 selling or distribution expenses. Lagyan natin sila dito. class, kaya discarte nyo na lang actually class kung paano nyo gagawin. Wala namang one instruction for everything. Depends on your creativity. As long as you can present properly the important values, net sales, gross profit, cost of goods sold, operating expenses, and etc. Okay? So, ito, syempre, pag na-total mo yung operating expenses mo, what is our total operating expenses? 238,416. And, saan mo na ngayon kukunin yung profit mo? Yung gross profit less total operating expenses. Yan. And we still get the same value. Magkaiba lang yung pagkaka-present. Ayan. Okay? So, pwede nyo ganito, yung may notes, pwede din namang yung walang notes. Dire-diretso. Okay? Clear ba yan? Check nyo na lang ulit ha. You just check the Excel sheet. Then, let's continue. Let's go to the, what do you call this? The cost of goods manufactured. Got another Excel sheet.